What's your story?
What does accessibility mean to you?
How can technology contribute to greater inclusivity?
accessiBe Spotlight Sessions.
In collaboration with Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind's digital series, Where Are We Now?
Featuring Frederico Francioni, head of digital ecosystem at Meta.
Hello and welcome to the Where Are We Now and Spotlight Sessions collaboration podcast. Together, the Columbia Lighthouse with the Blind and accessiBe are working side by side to foster a better understanding and empathy between the blind and business communities. We will be highlighting the challenges, triumphs, and daily realities faced by people who are blind or visually impaired and those with disabilities. And we will be exploring the latest trends, technologies, and policies that are shaping a more inclusive digital world and accessible future for all. My name is Josh Basil. I'm your co-host for today's show. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders, and a power wheelchair user. I'm the community relations manager at accessiBe and a passionate disability rights advocate and trial attorney focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities.
I'm Jocelyn Hunter, your other co-host for today's show. I am Senior Director of Communications at Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind. CLB, through programs and services here in the Washington, D.C. region, serves people of all ages who are blind or visually impaired.
Today, we will be talking with Frederico Francioni, the head of digital ecosystem at Meta. He's a self-proclaimed designigist, part service designer, and part digital strategist. He has led multiple projects for Fortune 500 companies in tech, retail, and financial services. At Meta, he leads a team of service designers, artificial intelligence and natural language processing experts, and content specialists who focus on driving scalable solutions to help evolve Meta's digital services and better serve people's needs. His efforts shape the future of work and employee experience through automation, personalization, and conversational technologies. Thank you so much for joining us today, Federico, and welcome to the Where Are We Now and Spotlight Sessions collaboration podcast.
Hey, hello everyone. Thanks for having me. And yeah, what a great intro. I don't think I've done even my own intro that great. So I'm flattered. Awesome.
Well deserved.
Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you, Federico. Welcome. Looking forward to our conversation today. And without further ado, let's get started. As the head of digital ecosystem at Meta, what does your typical work week look like? And what do you love most about your work?
My work week is definitely focused around people. I have the pleasure of working with a really great group of amazing people, and I get to build some pretty amazing things with them. So usually in my work week, I tend to have most of my mornings dedicated with my one-on-ones and all the people that are really working directly in my team to get aligned on what the projects are doing, trying to unblock them, and of course, I would say we also discuss about like their growth and the opportunity and the challenge of the work. During the morning and halfway through the day, we're probably focusing more about like project time. So that's where we will meet with a larger group of different stakeholders. And sometimes we have the pleasure of running a design thinking workshop with a number of what we call cross-functional stakeholders to advance project. And I would say later in the night when it's too late for the East Coaster, but it's still a good time for like people on the West Coast like me, we wrap up with another few one-on-ones. So as you can see, there's a lot of meetings and of like all dimension. And it's fantastic because it's all the kind of interaction that we could do. And I would say it gives the right balance between how do you steer and how you can consult with people in order to get the information that you need to unblock your work, together with the right amount of like cooperativeness where you can literally get things started and you can work on documentation or all the rest. So it's I would say nothing too different from like every other job, but like with a sustained pace, that's for sure.
Well, thank you, Federico. Yeah, and what piqued my interest was the part about the stakeholders. And, here at Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind, we certainly are one of those stakeholders, as we have recognized that Meta is keenly aware of the needs for accessibility for people who are blind or visually impaired.
And
Appreciate it.
Frederico, I'm really curious. Can you share more about what it means to be a designigist and how your unique leadership approach helps Meta to create a more inclusive experience in digital world for people with disabilities?
Yep. So the fun story is that designigist is not, of course, a real word. It's something that I made up when I was trying to describe myself, because it's always hard to describe yourself, right? Especially if you're someone that don't want to fit like in a label, or like, yeah, you're just this one or just that one. So as I was doing my website, I was thinking, what are the the things that I actually do? And I work in a combination of a designer and a strategist, because I have both component. I have the component of making things like fairly structured, understand what are the needs of different stakeholders, different people that are working, to your previous point, Jocelyn, right? About there might be people from finance, there might be people from like payroll, there might be people from all the different like part of a company. And now you combine in a way that caters to the employee, because eventually that's what design does, right? They get all the feedback and the data, the observation, and the insight from the employee and how they consume things, and then try to make something beautiful. So the combination of these two words is a little bit of what I felt. Yeah, this is literally a way to explain it. How can I do it? And so I'm like, okay, has everyone called themselves a designigist? No? Okay, so I claim it. I haven't patented it, so maybe I should. I don't know. You gave me a good idea, but that's really what I do. And to the second part of your conversation, it takes a lot of what I would call like service design approach, or anything that can be end to end whenever you are trying to create or enhance a product or a service, to make sure that every kind of user is included and their needs are evaluated into the solution that you are building. So what I'm mentioning, the end-to-end, is that a lot of time, especially for something that is very complex, like you can probably say, I mean, the Facebook app, the Instagram app, but even all the internal app that like we have at Meta, there are a lot of different products and sub-service that you have. So it really takes someone that can zoom out and say, okay, if this is how the usual flow goes from the beginning to an end, is this experience really flawless, or at least decent? Or is there some pitfall where like the user is like, oh my God, I can't really get things done. And there might be an opportunity for them to exit, right? Or have some discomfort. So really the focus is on doing that. And we all play our part in making that inclusive. So every team, no matter how big or small the app is, will work on all the inclusivity, accessibility, and equity part of their app itself.
That's awesome. And for those in our audience who kind of don't know about what artificial intelligence and natural language processing is, can you describe what they are and then provide examples of how they can be leveraged by a business to create a better user experience for all abilities?
Yep. Or at least I'll try to and see if I do a good job here. So the artificial intelligence is the ability to leverage a faster, better, stronger calculation and execution by a computer, and the ability to connect things that are much faster than any other human to get something done. That's how I will like oversimplify it. And natural language processing is the art of using the way in which we speak, like every day, to trigger a command or just give an input to one of those machines, right? The combination of the two is getting extremely popular nowadays. I guess, I mean, raise your hand if you haven't heard about AI. I think it's probably too much. The idea is that AI have like probably infinite application, and we're still discovering those, right? One of the things that I've been seeing using AI the most is literally user experience testing with AI, where we can use these bots or these like digital entities, this digital persona, to literally simulate people with different abilities and ensuring really that the products can provide a good experience even for them. So sometimes might be trickier, or you might not have the time or even the resource, right? Because that was one of the problems that smaller company might have to test with all kind of user. But now with AI, you can simulate that, and you can almost have like that person going through the entire flow of your design with AI and see what they will look at, what they will feel, and what they will tell about your experience. Of course, it's not like testing with a real user, but it's a good approximation of how you can do it.
It's very interesting.
Yep. And the another interesting way of combining the two is what is called enhanced accessibility. So you can use speech recognition, right? And make sure that whenever this is more with people with like mobility impairments, and they can interact with those tools in a more effective ways. We all have been knowing the Siri, or I mean, if you're using the Meta Ray-Ban, like you can talk with the AI, and it's great. But the way in which we're offering AI to do things needs to shift a little bit depending on the user, right? So, for example, if you have someone with mobile impairments, the kind of comments that you want to activate might be different from the typical like a user that like you will enter like in your nowadays in your typical product, right? So that's another way in which we're trying to enhance it, also via NLP process, because that speech recognition needs to be catered to all the different slangs. I mean, coming from an Italian, that's like very interesting as well. And yeah, you want to be able to capture what is needed to make sure that activity, that task can be completed.
As a follow-up, Federico, how can the AI and NLP you just described further drive the scalable solutions and technologies for people who are blind or visually impaired?
For that part specific that comes to mind, it's a little bit advanced, but I've seen automatic braille transcription. So you can use NLP to convert something that's also been written into braille and can be used for people that are like visually impaired or blind. So that's pretty much one-to-one transition to that. Is an automation of that process that can go through in real time. Another interesting way, it's like through if you want a little bit like older technology, that is text to speech and speech to text, because I think that still we're not applying those two in the way that we should. So there might be better way to read content aloud for example, for users that have difficulties like typing. So the combination of speech to text and text to speech can be very helpful in any, I'd say, everyday life example in order to grab what's there or like what has been changing and being able to do that. If you think about the something very breaking through, for example, will be through image processing. Because text, if you want, is something fairly easy. But let me use the example. In our MetaQuest, we have a technology that is called room scanning. So basically, when you are and you put your visor, you can literally scan your room, and now that you know the environment around you, you can be more immersed into that one, because the room itself becomes a part of the game or the experience. So let me give you like a gaming experience.
Oh.
Imagine you're scanning your room, placing the window and the door, and you can literally play with I don't know, aliens coming from the door or from the window, and you can fire at them, right? Like in this like a fantasy game. There are a few of them, and it's pretty entertaining because you're going through what is called pass-through, so mixed reality. You're looking at your real world, but with like pieces of augmented reality. Now, if we get out of the game and we'll go into the real life, the ability of doing not room scanning, but environment scanning can be great for people with like visual impaired, because you can think of something that can almost works like a sonar, right? Like a radar, and it's able to scan what's happening around you and is able to tell you, hey, there are people coming in, there are things moving, there might be like a new intersection. And so this technology, as it gets miniaturized and powerful, can be something that we can properly bring with us every day and change the life of everyone.
That's fascinating.
That's
And we
awesome.
are beginning to see a lot of that technology immerse within our community and definitely evolving through different apps, navigational apps, whether it's the Right Here technology or Waymap, through the use of mapping, through the use of beacons, in order for our community to have greater access with regards to information of a space, a setting, able to navigate different settings to get from one location to a destination, whether it's the travel of a metro or somewhere within their community, their city. Federico, can you share more about Meta's digital surface, what it looks like, and why, as it evolves, it is important to focus on the user experience and inclusion as core pillars? And again, you talked a little bit about the stakeholders and how you all are surveying and engaging with your stakeholders. Can you talk more really about that user experience? That's definitely of interest as we here at Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind really work diligently to educate our community about the importance for enhanced accessibility.
Yep, gladly. Trying to get into what I can share and what I cannot. But the idea is that every app product, depending how small or big it is. So in the case of Instagram or Facebook, you can imagine it's like very big, as a lot of
Right.
teams working on different aspect and different function.
Yeah.
There is a lot of attention to how are we making this part 100% accessible. So what, like in general, the approach that is taken, and it's the state of the art, and will be what I call world class, but literally should be the standard, is that you want to adhere by all the accessibility standard, and that's why you will always make sure that you cater to all the users that you're gonna serve, and that means that you go and do thorough user testing throughout the product delivery phase, product development phase, and you do test against accessibility. And there is no green light of the product if you don't have that accessibility test passed. So you can make accessibility, that's something I've been telling multiple things in my mind and my approach, no matter for who I work or in anything, in any part of the world, you cannot make accessibility the cherry on the cake. Accessibility is the cake, is a part of the cake. It's everything. It's one of the key ingredients of the cake. Without that, it doesn't work. Because if you start thinking that in layers, I don't think it's the best cake. And so it's really, as you bake, you want to make sure that you got all the ingredients with you, and you go through the entire list and you take care of all of them. That's why you get a very fantastic whatever tiramisu or what is that you like, right? But yeah, that aspect of like a user testing is very important. That's why
I like that. Very good. Yeah.
right?
Very good.
With it being a key ingredient, it's either gonna not taste good, or if it's missing, or it's gonna all fall apart. And I think that's a
Yes.
true, it's a great way to think about it. Putting that key ingredient in
Yeah.
so that it's gonna stay together. It's gonna be a good experience, and it's gonna be one you're gonna want to come back to. Because who doesn't like a delicious experience?
That's great.
And
Yeah.
your career has put an emphasis on strategically bringing people together, especially those with diverse mindsets and perspectives. So, Federico, can you share examples of how you've done this and why doing this with people with disabilities leads to better and more innovative experiences for all users?
I try and do my best to do it every day. Myself, I'm hearing impaired because I'm technically half deaf because of mumps since I was, I don't know, 2, so I can't even remember. So myself, uh, um, I'm an example of that. So even the way that I uh, work and use apps, but even the way in which I do and work in an environment where I sit in a meeting to make sure that I can hear people, right? The fact that I'm using AirPods and whatever, it's something that I'm looking forward for everyone. Sometimes, as we all know, but everyone should know those disabilities are also invisible. And that's something that I also want to underline here because we think that it's always something in our face, but it's not. That's also one of the reasons why it's important that like we keep the awareness on the fact that people have disabilities or something special, something different. And that special is also reflected in the value that they bring. So there's always a value in the different perspective that those people will be bringing, and we want to be open about that. I call it like constructive friction. Like we don't have to be afraid of having a little bit of a discussion. If we go back to our now beloved analogy of a cake, we know that to make a cake, you have to break some eggs, and that's it. But if you don't open yourself to make sure that you get, like, again, all the eggs, but you sometimes have to break some of those in order to really make it work, then you're not really willing to committing to the best solution possible. So that means being open, invite all those people, but as you invite them, you have to make sure that you invite their perspective in the mix as well. You cannot invite just to, check, done. You really need to make sure that you value what is the perspective that has been shared with you. And so that is done, as I was saying like earlier, in user testing is a great opportunity, right? User feedback also after we launch a product is also a great opportunity. There is always the opportunity, like Jocelyn was mentioned, to work with certain organization to find out what they think about it. Also, these I think organizations like yours are great in terms of like being very vocal on like, hey, these are some of the things that we like to get improved. So it's not even that difficult to gather. It's like you have plenty of that feedback at your fingertip. It's just a matter of, hey, how are we doing what some people will call, again, the extra work to bring into our solution? I think is valuable. And I believe in our last conversation with Josh, we were also saying, this is good for the business too. Like if you really want to be cynical, right? That is something that I will recommend. But the fact that you're opening to a bigger target audience, it's good for every business. So we know that we're basically inviting more people to where you are when you're considering everyone. So there is literally no way for like no good reason not to do it. And that's why I will welcome everyone's opinion, no matter who they are.
So win-win-win for all.
Federico, thank you for sharing that perspective, your perspective. That's valuable. And again, at Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind, we are appreciative to you, to Facebook, Instagram, Meta for recognizing the voice, the perspective that I bring, that our community brings as people with different degrees of vision loss. And we are excited to continue this conversation, and we want to be a part of the evaluations and the constant enrichment of the products that you all are developing and continuing to refine. To that end, what approaches and technologies would you recommend to other businesses that want to become more inclusive and accessible?
I would say uh, document yourself and just leverage all, even the free resources that you can get today in the different communities. And you can be as simple as start chatting with any AI chatbot to have a perspective on how to do it. I think like even in an effort of embracing like new technology, if you've never been using like a AI chatbot and you're new to a business, ChatGPT is an excellent example, or whatever AI you want to use, even on Google, etc. You can go and ask yourself, hey, what could I do to get better at this? And I'm pretty sure that like ChatGPT will have a great answer for you in like what things, like what kind of activation you can get in order to be more inclusive in your process. Because sometimes it takes a little as that. And again, another win-win, because you're learning more about the tool and you're getting some info there. There is no shame in that. In general, I love how a lot of companies, not only tech companies, have been creating framework for the accessibility, and now they're pretty advanced. I love like companies, for example, I know that like Figma have created toolkit and plugin to do like screen reader and testing and making it much easier and much faster. So there is now a lot of our fingertip. I think it only takes like, hey, let me check on the tools that I use currently. Is there anything there that I can use to enhance the accessibility of my product? Does it answer your question?
Great. Thank you for your insight, for your expertise. This
It
has
does.
been a fabulous conversation. And thank you, Federico, for your time today in joining this episode of Where Are We Now and Spotlight Sessions Collaboration Podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
Frederico, we really appreciate your time and all that you do, and keep doing it. You're doing a great job. So thank you again, Federico. And for all of our guests, thank you for staying to the end. And please take a moment to check out CLB's Where Are We Now digital series by visiting CLB YouTube page. You can learn more about accessiBe and Columbia Lighthouse for the blind by subscribing on YouTube and following us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Find us on our handles at accessiBe_community and at Columbia Lighthouse. We're looking forward to our next episode, and always, thank you for being on this journey with us. Thank you, Federico. Thank you. Thank you, Jocelyn. Bye, everyone.